Johnny, get your gun, get your gun, get your gun. Take it on.
Welcome back to Frontline Rejects. Before we get started today, we'd appreciate it if you could help us out by hitting that like and subscribe button and by dropping a comment in the comment section below. And if you'd like to reach out to us directly, send us an email at frontlinerejects@gmail.com.
The bullet we're testing today is Speer's new impact bullet, specifically the 172 grain offering in .308 diameter, which we're going to be running through our Tikka T3x from 100 to 500 yards. Now this new option from Speer is a high BC bonded core bullet, which we're very excited to try out. And we hope that you are as well, so let's get started.
Alright guys, well, Speer released their new impact bullet not too long ago, and we've had quite a few of you requesting it in the comments, so when I happened across a box of them while perusing the shelves at one of our local gun stores, I decided to pick them up, and I'm glad I did. I've always appreciated Speer for supplying affordable, dependable, no-frills options like the Grand Slam and Hot Core, but with the impact I'm liking them even more. The impact is a true molecularly bonded bullet where the jacket is fused to the core, has a modern boat tail, aerodynamic profile, and a relatively high ballistic coefficient. Speer markets it as being capable of effective expansion at velocities 200 feet per second slower than comparable options, and while we didn't drop below 2,000 feet per second today, that'll be something we test in the future. Getting into the 100, we've got awesome expansion, the pedals peeled back on all sides, well below the base of the projectile. At 200, it's similar, although the pedals have folded back in a little closer to the core. The 300 is much the same, we've only shed about 300 feet per second from our 100-yard impact speed, but not too much difference in performance so far. A little bit of goofiness in how the pedals are twisted at the 400, but that's not a bad thing at all, as bullet would probably create a very impressive wound channel. Story at the 5 is mostly the same, the pedals peeled back effectively on all sides, with expansion ending at about the same point on the shank as the 4. Taking a look at our graphs, we have expansion exceeding 2 times the original size of the bullet at all ranges fired. Average expansion was 2.5 times original size, and our expansion standard deviation calculation was pretty low. Weight retention is where things get interesting. Average weight retention is 94%, which almost rivals what we'd expect to see from a monolithic projectile. In fact, the Speer Impact has higher weight retention than any other 30 caliber bonded bullet we've tested, including the AccuBond, Terminal Ascent, and Bond Strike. It also produced wider expansion than both the AccuBond and TA. The 180 Bond Strike did produce wider expansion figures out of the 300 Win Mag, but it'll be real interesting to see how the 190 Impact performs out of that cartridge. And what that would theoretically translate to is both wider and deeper wound channels on game. Another factor is price. When I purchased these locally, a 50 round box was going for a few dollars less than what Nosler's AccuBond goes for, and it's the same story when compared to Federal's Terminal Ascent, which as a component bullet still seems nearly impossible to find. I was also surprised by how accurate the projectile was out of my Tikka, including zeroing, chronoing, confirming drop, and shooting the ranges. We used 14 rounds, which I think is so far a record for lowest number of bullets used when doing one of these tests. We usually average in between 20 to 25 rounds to complete an expansion test. We first zero the round at 100 before chronographing, which we might start including in the videos in the future. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you think watching us chronograph would add value to these videos. Then, when we shoot each range, we usually put 1 to 3 rounds on either paper or steel first to make sure our point of impact is exactly where we want it, so we don't have to reshoot any ranges due to bullets lost from a bad hit. And so usually that takes, like I said, in between 20 to 25 rounds, but with the impact at each range, drop confirmation was like one shot. At each range, I just dialed the turret and our ballistic calculator gave us what felt like a perfect adjustment. At all ranges, this bullet was just on. And candidly, I am considering working up a load with this bullet for a hunt I've got planned this fall. It's good enough, and it seems to just jive with my rifle in a way that might cause me to set aside my TTSXs this year. So that being said, what is the use case for this bullet? Well, due to the impressive ballistic coefficient this bullet boasts, I would happily run it out to 600 yards all day long. From a velocity standpoint, with my loading, I'd be dropping down to around 1800 feet per second at that range, and I would comfortably expect effective expansion at that speed. As far as what I'd hunt with this bullet, of course it'd do a fantastic job on medium-sized game like deer and antelope, but I would also be more than happy to use this when hunting larger game like elk and black bear. I am extremely impressed with how well Speer's new impact bullet has performed. As I previously mentioned, I may put some serious consideration into using this bullet on a few hunting trips this year, hopefully at least one of which we'll be filming. And for those who are interested in building their own load with Speer's 172 grain impact in its chambering, our load was based off a max recommended charge from Speer of IMR 4831 with the bullet set to max COAL. Speer also offers this bullet in 190 grains, and we're going to run that through a 300 Win Mag. They also offer a 140 grain option in .264 diameter, so it's likely we'll get to test put together in that diameter as well. I'm really hoping Speer brings these out in more diameters. I'd love to get my hands on some in 6 and 7 millimeter, so here's hoping we're only seeing the beginning stages of the impact family. Thanks for watching today. If you got something out of the content, consider helping us out by liking the video. If you've got any personal experience with the impact, sound off in the comments below, and if you don't want to miss future tests with this bullet, consider subscribing. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.